The sound of breaking glass pierced the quiet afternoon. Jack froze, his trembling hands hovering over the photo of his late wife as the neighbor's words echoed through the paper-thin walls. "I don't want my kids playing with a murderer's child." His 5-year-old daughter Olivia looked up at him with innocent eyes, unaware that their new beginning had already been condemned. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of resilience and healing. Your support helps us continue sharing these important narratives. Jack Bennett never imagined he'd return from Afghanistan to an empty home. The military had been his life for 15 years, but after losing his wife Claire to cancer while he was deployed, his priorities shifted dramatically. His daughter Olivia needed him now more than ever. The modest house they'd purchased in the quiet suburb of Mapleton was supposed to be their fresh start. The neighborhood looked perfect on paper: good schools, safe streets, and a community that supposedly welcomed veterans. Jack had spent weeks preparing for their arrival, painting Olivia's room her favorite shade of lavender and setting up the backyard swing set Claire had always wanted for their daughter. "Daddy, when can I meet the other kids?" Olivia asked on their third day, her small face pressed against the living room window as she watched children playing across the street. "Soon, sweetheart," Jack promised, though he'd noticed how parents seemed to usher their children inside whenever he and Olivia ventured out for walks. He told himself it was coincidence, nothing more. The first week passed in a blur of unpacking and establishing routines. Olivia was starting kindergarten soon, and Jack was determined to create stability for her. The nightmares that had plagued him since his last tour had subsided somewhat, but sleep remained elusive. Most nights, he sat on the porch swing, watching the stars and wondering how to be both mother and father to a child who barely knew him. Their next-door neighbor, Diane Wheeler, was the first to introduce herself, bringing over a casserole and a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. "We don't get many military types around here," she said, her gaze flicking to the folded flag displayed in his living room. "Your daughter is adorable. Does she take after her mother?" The question stung, but Jack nodded. "Yes, thankfully. Claire was beautiful inside and out. I heard about your wife. Such a shame." Diane's voice dropped to a whisper. "And you were away when it happened?" The accusation in her tone wasn't subtle. Jack felt his jaw tighten but forced himself to remain civil. "I was serving my country, yes." Diane left shortly after, and Jack thought little of the encounter until the following weekend when Olivia asked to join the neighborhood children at the community playground. "Of course," Jack said, grateful for any opportunity for Olivia to make friends. They walked hand in hand to the playground, Olivia chattering excitedly about the swings and slides. The playground fell silent as they approached. Parents gathered their children, whispers spreading like wildfire. Jack recognized Diane among them, her head bent close to another mother's ear. Olivia's small hand tightened around his. "Why is everyone looking at us, Daddy?" "They're just curious about the new neighbors," he assured her, though his combat-honed instincts were screaming warnings. A young boy broke away from the group, running toward Olivia with a friendly smile. "Wanna play on the swings?" Olivia's face lit up, but before she could answer, the boy's mother rushed forward, yanking him back. "Tyler! Come here right now." "But Mom, I just wanted." "I said now." The woman glared at Jack as if he were a threat. "We don't play with strangers." Jack felt Olivia's body sag against his leg. "Let's go home, sweetheart," he said softly. "We can come back another time." But as they turned to leave, he heard Diane's voice clearly. "I looked him up online. 3 tours in Afghanistan. Do you know what they do over there? Those men come back broken. Dangerous. And his poor wife, dying alone while he was off fighting someone else's war. What kind of father does that make him?" Jack quickened their pace, hoping Olivia hadn't heard, but the damage was done. That night, as he tucked her into bed, she asked the question he'd been dreading. "Daddy, did you leave Mommy because you didn't love her anymore?" His heart shattered. No, Olivia. I loved your mother more than anything in this world, except you. I had a job that took me away sometimes, but I always came back. The lady next door said you left Mommy when she was sick. Jack closed his eyes, fighting for composure. Sometimes adults say things that aren't true because they don't understand. Your mommy knew I loved her. She knew I would have been there if I could. Olivia seemed satisfied with this answer, but Jack lay awake all night, memories of Claire flooding back. Their last video call, her brave smile despite the pain, her insistence that he complete his tour rather than request compassionate leave. The men need you, she'd said. Olivia and I will be here when you get back. But Claire wasn't there when he returned. Only Olivia, confused and grieving, staying with Claire's sister who blamed Jack for not being present during Claire's final days. The following morning, Jack was hanging pictures in the hallway when he heard Diane's voice through the wall, unnaturally loud as if she wanted to be heard. I don't want my kids playing with a murderer's child. Who knows what that man did overseas? And now he's raising that poor little girl alone? It's not natural. Children need mothers. The hammer slipped from Jack's grasp, shattering the glass of Claire's photo. Olivia appeared in the doorway, eyes wide with concern. Daddy? What's a murderer? The weeks that followed were the hardest of Jack's life, harder than basic training, harder than combat, harder even than burying Claire. Olivia became withdrawn, refusing to leave the house for anything but school, where she sat alone at lunch according to her teacher. Jack tried reaching out to the neighborhood association, hoping to clear the air, but was met with cold politeness and closed doors. He considered moving, but their savings were depleted, and Olivia had already endured too much change. One evening, as Jack sat on their front steps watching Olivia half-heartedly push herself on the swing set, an elderly man with a cane made his way slowly up their walkway. Evening, soldier, the man said, his voice gravelly with age. Name's Frank Pearson. Served in Vietnam. House at the end of the block. Jack stood, automatically extending his hand. Jack Bennett. Afghanistan. Frank's handshake was firm despite his apparent frailty. I know who you are, son. Whole neighborhood's talking. Thought it was time someone talked to you instead. Olivia watched curiously from the swing as Frank settled himself on the steps beside Jack. They did the same to me, you know, Frank said, gesturing toward the surrounding houses. Different war, same story. Man comes home changed, people get scared. They don't understand what we've seen, what we've done. What we've lost. Jack stared at his hands. I didn't expect a parade, but I didn't expect this either. Frank nodded. Diane Wheeler's husband left her for a younger woman 5 years ago. Tyler's mom lost her brother in Iraq. Everyone's fighting their own battles, son. That doesn't give them the right to judge me or isolate my daughter. No, it doesn't, Frank agreed. But understanding helps. And so does time. Before leaving, Frank invited them to a barbecue at his house that weekend. Nothing fancy. Just a few neighbors who aren't idiots. Olivia's excitement at the invitation was the first genuine happiness Jack had seen in weeks. He accepted despite his reservations. The barbecue turned out to be a gathering of veterans and their families, men and women who had served in various conflicts, along with spouses who had endured the long separations and children who understood what it meant to have a parent deployed. For the first time since moving to Mapleton, Jack felt himself relax. Olivia disappeared with a group of children who didn't ask why she didn't have a mother or why her father sometimes stared into space. We meet once a month, explained Frank's wife, Elaine, passing Jack a plate of food. Support group of sorts, though the men would never call it that. Just neighbors helping neighbors. I didn't know there were other veterans in the area, Jack admitted. We don't advertise, said a woman named Melissa, whose husband had lost a leg in Iraq. Too many people think they understand what it means to serve, to sacrifice. They don't. As the evening progressed, Jack found himself sharing stories about Claire, how they met in college, her infectious laugh, her determination to become a pediatric nurse. He spoke of her illness, diagnosed during his deployment, and her insistence that he complete his tour. "She didn't want me to choose," he explained, his voice breaking. "She said our country needed me then, but Olivia would need me after. She made me promise to be there for our daughter." The group listened without judgment, offering silent support that meant more than any words could have. When it was time to leave, Olivia was reluctant to part with her new friends. "Can we come back, Daddy? Please?" "Anytime," Frank assured them. "You're family now." Walking home under the stars, Olivia's hand in his, Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They weren't alone anymore. The next morning, Jack was raking leaves when Diane emerged from her house, hesitating before approaching the property line. "I saw you at Frank's yesterday," she said, arms crossed defensively. Jack continued raking. "Yes. I didn't know you knew the Pearsons." "I do now." Diane shifted uncomfortably. "Look, I may have said some things. Made some assumptions." Jack stopped, leaning on the rake. "You called me a murderer within earshot of my 5-year-old daughter." Diane had the grace to look ashamed. "I was wrong. Frank told me about your wife, about your service. I should have asked you directly instead of spreading gossip." "Yes, you should have. My ex-husband was in the military," she admitted. "He came back, different. Angry. It didn't end well for us." Jack softened slightly. "I'm sorry to hear that. But I'm not your ex-husband, and Olivia is an innocent child who just lost her mother." Diane nodded. "I have a daughter Olivia's age. Lily. She's been asking to meet your daughter since you moved in." "I've been protective." "Overprotective," Jack corrected. "Yes," Diane conceded. "Would it be all right if Lily came over sometime? Or Olivia could visit us?" It wasn't an apology, not really, but it was a start. "For Olivia's sake," Jack nodded. "Olivia would like that." The change didn't happen overnight. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. But slowly, the neighborhood began to open up. Frank organized a veteran support group at the community center, inviting non-veterans to attend and learn. Jack shared his story, the pride of service, the pain of separation, the guilt of not being there when Claire needed him most. Some neighbors remained distant, but others reached out. Olivia made friends, including Diane's daughter Lily, who became a regular visitor. The two girls were inseparable by Christmas, when Diane invited Jack and Olivia to join her family for dinner. "I was wrong about you," she said quietly as they watched the children open presents. "I let my own pain cloud my judgment." Jack thought of all the harsh words he'd wanted to say to her months ago, the anger that had burned within him. "We all make mistakes," he said instead. "What matters is learning from them." Spring brought new beginnings. Jack started working at the local VA hospital, using his medical training to help other veterans. Olivia thrived in school, her natural resilience shining through. The neighborhood association elected Jack to the board, valuing his perspective and leadership skills. One evening, as Jack sat on the porch swing watching Olivia and Lily play, Frank joined him, lowering himself carefully onto the swing. "You've done good, son," the older veteran said. "Claire would be proud." Jack smiled, thinking of the photo now properly framed and hanging in their hallway. "I hope so. That little girl of yours is something special. Strong, like her father." "Like her mother," Jack corrected. "Claire was the strong one." Frank shook his head. "Takes strength to serve your country knowing what it might cost. Takes even more to come home and face a different kind of battle." Jack watched as Olivia showed Lily how to do a cartwheel, her laughter carrying across the yard. "Worth every fight," he said softly. "Always is," Frank agreed. Later that night, as Jack tucked Olivia into bed, she asked a question that caught him off guard. "Daddy, are you still sad about what the neighbor lady said?" Jack considered his answer carefully. "Not anymore, sweetheart. People say hurtful things sometimes when they're scared or don't understand." Olivia nodded solemnly. "Like when Tyler said his mom told him you were a hero, but heroes are scary because they do dangerous things." Jack smiled. "Being a hero doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you do what's right even when you are afraid." "Like when you went to help people in other countries?" "Yes, and like when you made friends with Lily even though you were nervous on your first day of school." Olivia beamed at being compared to her father. "Mommy was a hero too, right? For helping sick children?" "Absolutely. One of the bravest people I've ever known." Olivia was quiet for a moment, thinking. "I want to be brave like both of you." "You already are, Olivia. Every single day." As his daughter drifted off to sleep, Jack reflected on their journey. The words that had once shattered his heart, murderer, absent father, broken, had lost their power. In their place were new words: healing, community, home. The neighborhood that had once seemed so hostile had become a place of belonging. Not perfect, not without challenges, but a place where a war-torn single dad and his daughter could rebuild their lives, one day at a time. Jack stepped out onto the porch, gazing up at the stars as he often did when thinking of Claire. "We made it," he whispered. "Just like you said we would." And somewhere in the vast night sky, he felt her smile. Thank you for watching this story of courage, resilience, and the power of community. If you found meaning in Jack and Olivia's journey, please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support allows us to continue sharing stories that remind us all of our shared humanity and the healing that comes when we choose understanding over judgment. Remember, everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always.